Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
Welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists Podcast with me, Gavin Cook.
And me, Jackson White.
And this evening we've got Shabir Akhtar. Oh, go on then, Shab. You can say your name if you want.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you were asking me. Yeah, Shabir Akhtar.
So Shab's an old legend of the old TGB squad back in the 80s. And we were looking to get Shab on today to talk about the good old days, Shab, right?
Yeah, sure.
So over to Jackson.
Good. Fantastic days.
Yeah, over to you.
It's good to have you on, Shab. So I'm going to kick off with the first question.
Sure.
So our audience, some will know you, some won't know you. So why don't you kick off with a bit of your background, where you grew up, your schooling, and of course, ultimately, how you got into martial arts?
Right. I grew up in Yorkshire, near Sheffield. Went to local school in juniors and secondary. And I got myself into martial arts in somewhere time around about 76, 77, which was about 12 years old.
Okay.
Doing Shukokai karate, which I got introduced through my brother. I did that for about a year. Then obviously I stopped for various reasons. I restarted again in about 17, I think it was. 16. Yeah, 16 when I left the school. I started doing Lau Gar Kung Fu. And I stayed Lau Gar till about, till about 1920. And at the time I was doing, I had a good friend who was doing Taekwondo. So I switched over to Taekwondo. Then obviously that appealed to me. So I got my black sash in Lau Gar and I switched over to Taekwondo. Okay. And then we did a lot of tournaments. I had a few kickboxing fights in back mid-80s. Didn't like that. Then I started doing boxing as well, mainly as well. So, but mainly I competed mainly in Taekwondo.
Okay, so when you first started off in your Shukokai, so you obviously Shukokai, sorry, you've been a bit of a journeyman. So you've sampled many martial arts. So when you started off on the karate piece, what was it you liked about the karate?
Something, we travel. There was only one club in Sheffield, and there was a gentleman named Stan Knighton, and I was 12 years old. There was only 3 of us there, and then we used to spar adults. And I think at that time there was no pads, no nothing, and you'd go home every bruise. And they didn't take it lightly because there were no kids classes.
Sure.
And we asked them to put us in a kids, put us in a class. The gentleman said, "No, we only do adults." Anyway, we persuaded him eventually to teach us, but every time we went home with bruises.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that.
And honestly,
back in the old Warwick days, we didn't have pads.
When you're 13 years old and find 5th dan and 6th dan karate guys, you can feel it. Anyway, I did that for about 18 months. Probably 18 months. So I switched over to took a bit of break and then I switched over to Lau Gar Kung Fu because my brother was doing Lau Gar Kung Fu, so that appealed to me a bit more at the time.
Okay, and was that in Sheffield as well?
Yeah, that was a gentleman called George Wellington. Bless him, he died in about 88, I think, later on.
Okay.
There was some legendary fighters in the Lau Gar game, there wasn't there, in the 80s?
Yes, there were.
The Aston Lau Gar lot, and so.
Yeah, there were. I mean, at the time, George Wellington, he was one of the main players. He came from Birmingham when obviously Master Yao, eventually they spread out the instructors up north, and George was one of them. And prior to him was Steve Burbs in Sheffield. He taught in Sheffield for a while.
Okay. Did you ever train with Steve Burbs?
No, I fought Steve Burbs, but I never trained with him.
Okay. And how did that go?
So I lost to him, and this was back in, I'd say late 1890s. He was making his comeback before he fought Tony Sewell.
Okay.
Fantastic timing.
Yeah.
And if I said my experience, when I had more experience, I would have beaten him, but he beat me on his experience. He was a lot slower than me, but his timing was unbelievable. As soon as he flicked, that's how he was in.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what was it you liked about the Lau then? What drew you to that?
It just, at that time, it appealed to me because there was not many things going on. I did more flamboyant. I know the karate was very static. very static. So Lau Gar appealed to me, I don't know, it's just, there's a lot of razzmatazz.
Okay.
So, and it just, and when you graded, I know the grading slightly changed now, but at that time when you were like a first sash, white sash, and then you got an orange sash, you recognize as someone really good fighter. As you grow on and you became a green sash and brown sash, you recognize that you were the elite. But nowadays it's like, it's like candy, isn't it? Belts have been given out like candies.
Yeah, they can be in some organisations.
Honestly,
some practices, yeah. So, talk us through some of your gradings then. What do you remember about those early gradings? You said they're quite difficult.
Gradings.
What do you remember?
Lau Gar, they were in Lau Gar because we had the small classes. They were so scary. Okay, because only about three at a time. So we didn't do much in Chinese theory-wise. So that was fine. But more difficult found was when I switched over to Taekwondo. Korean terminology was a nightmare.
Yeah.
That was my
question. Is Shab, can you still remember the interpretation of Dangun?
Dangun, the holy Dangun, the legend of family 2003.
You never lose it. You never lose it. It's always there.
I still do the gradings for the instructor, so I do keep it.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, but on it, if I say it was my nightmare, it was that one.
Right.
And the grading exam at the time they used to use my good friend Kim Stones. And me and Kim were good friends even when we were training daytime. And then he said, "What you grading, Shabs?" I said, "I'm grading green belt." He's all right. He goes, I'm going to give you some rough time tonight. So that was good times.
Okay. So so how long? So
there's some good fighters around. Sorry, Jackson.
I was going to say. So you took your got your black sash in
I think 86 in Lau Gar.
And when did you get your black belt in Taekwondo then?
1990.
Okay.
About 1990, yeah. Took about 3 years.
So what drew you into the Taekwondo from Lau?
To be honest, I was doing kickboxing and I just had a kickboxing fight. And there was a gentleman there who I knew quite well, a good friend eventually. And he says, well, there's a Taekwondo club. I said, I'm looking for a Taekwondo club because I like their kicking styles. At that time, there was a gentleman called Bob Angus who was teaching in Rotherham. So I rolled up to that class. And there was a young kid who I saw at the time. He was a 12-year-old, I think, a kid called, you'll know him, really famous, Ginger. We call him the Ginger Ninja, Michael Lambert.
Yeah. Oh, Mikey, yeah, we had Mikey on last year.
He always put his hands in the mouth, and there was another gentleman called Graham Churchill. I don't know if you know.
Churchill, of course.
Churchill was the senior one there, yeah. So we three came, and then I started with them, actually. But Mike is very young very young. I think it was 12, 13 at the time.
Right, good, yeah. God,
yeah. So did you try to encourage him to get him to squad training, did you?
I tell you what happened, because I was still doing Lau Gar at the time, so I was chopping and changing. I wasn't grading much in Taekwondo. So eventually I came back one day, and this is true, and you can ask Mikey on this. And because I was more used to my point spot, and I had a good spot with Mike, and he gave me a little good little go for it. And I think it was only about 17. And then he's the one who said, because I trained with Kenny Walton, do you want to come down one day? I think the history is from there, because we went there, and I started training with Kenny in the mornings every day.
Right. What was that like, going from just training in the evenings to then picking up with Kenny? Because he's legendary for his fitness, wasn't he?
Oh man, he's a psycho. In the mornings, of myself, Michael Lambert, Graham Churchill, Kim Stones, and Kenny Walton. These few of the lads used to come down in the morning, and they used to be Tuesday and Thursdays. We used to go for about 3-5 miles run in the morning. There's me and Graham Churchill going out striding at the bike, but yeah. Then we used to do circuit training, then sparring. That was Tuesday and Thursday, and I did that consistent. I think that's what made you a bit better as well, because you sparred with Kim Stones, you sparred with Kenny, Mikey, Graham, with some good lads at the time.
Yeah, it just ups your game, doesn't it? Ups your game.
Oh, it upped our game, and then you had squad training on Saturdays as well. They got introduced squad training, and that made you better. And I used to box as well, so I do a bit of boxing in the evenings as well. So it made you better. So I stopped. To be honest, I stopped doing many classes at the time in the evening because I was too tired. So that's what really appealed this morning.
Okay, so just talk us back to the first squad training session you ever went to. How was that for you?
Well, I could tell you some stories, honestly. Really good, because I don't know if you've seen me fight, but I more was a hands person. I could probably blitz him more, but that was my style. So it's good, it's interesting. And had some really good spars with the lads. The best spar, I think, was a gentleman called Tony Sowell once.
Yeah.
I could tell you a story about that one.
So how did you cope with...
I'd like to hear the Iceman story? Did he catch you with a jumping reverse turning kick?
I'm not going to
jumping reverse turning kick every time.
No, I think I just broke in the team and Tony retired, and after Blue he came for squad training, and then I remember Dave Oliver saying in the corner, "Oh, Shabs are going to give him some hard time today." Because I was quite fast with my hands, doing all right, all the tournaments, winning just one QMT, best fighter. So getting lined up, I'm a young kid on the ball. I blitz him, blitz him a 1-2. It's quite catchy his hands, quite easy. And then I've got confidence. As you get confident. Then I mistimed him. He kicked me, and this gospel truth, I won't lie to you, it picked me up 3 feet off the floor.
Yeah.
3 feet, I think, most of that. I banged my head on the wall and winded me. That's after respect you now. And this was what I did. The thing is, the year it was probably 1991, 92. I just come back from America at the time.
Okay.
And
so when you first started squad, how did you cope with the fitness training? Because that catches a lot of people out, doesn't it?
It does, and the hardest bit is the first month. If you go about 4 weeks on there, you're consistent. It's like running every day. If you do it about 3 or 4 times, first time is a shock to the system. Yeah. I think if I was going to tell somebody newbie to go in, I'd make sure you do some sort of training, running, or a bit of circuit training, then you'll get used to that.
Yeah.
I think it's a shock to the system first time, definitely.
And that's always the plan, isn't it?
I know I took all my students over a few times, and they never wanted to go back.
They're not the only ones, that's for sure. I remember the first time I went, I spent all my energy keeping up with everybody.
Yeah,
trying to compete in the fitness side. When it came to putting the gear on, that was it. I was just there standing around taking a bit of a whooping.
I know that. And the psychology used to do when I used to box. We do a bit of training. We do the sparring. And then we used to do circuit training afterwards. When in Taekwondo, TGB, we do all the circuit, and you can't pick your legs all right. You'll get your pads on, and you're kicking like, I don't know.
Wearing diving boots.
Yeah, exactly. We had some fit guys there. You had Roger, Lawrence, and Shepherd, all the Welsh boys, all the UK. There's some fit lads, honestly. I think that's what, after all the organisation, Taekwondo, Lau Gar, karate, I think that was what the secret was, the fitness.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
And I think that has to go to Kenny Walton for that one.
Yeah.
And Dave.
And I think the standard's been continuously high. Certainly when I was in the TGB squad, we had some fantastic athletes in there, and the squad was just so competitive. Because again, two or three good fighters in most divisions, so everyone's wanted to be fitter, to be better, and to try and win.
When I was fighting, there was a. Mark Ogwon came in. There was another gentleman. There were the 3-4 was heavyweights. Prior to me, there used to became Tony Sowell, these Mark Ogwon, and then I think light heavyweight. I think you had Mark Weir, Michael Lambert. I think those were men too in that one. Then your middleweight was quite competitive. I think welterweight was more competitive than anything else.
Yeah, a lot of high quality welterweights.
Sure.
Shepherd, my dad.
Yeah, I mean, your dad, fantastic fighter, brilliant. Watching his fight with Bob Sykes of the night, really fantastic.
Yeah, that first Clash of the Titans fight.
Yeah, great guy.
Need to get him up for a rematch. Need to see if we can get him up for a rematch, Jackie.
To be honest, they weren't prepared for that type of fighting, but but they TGB handled it quite well. Yeah, definitely, really well.
Okay, then. So talk about some of the. Some of your fiercest competitors then when you're on the circuit.
I don't think I did a lot of points fighting. So I fought for the Warriors team prior to fighting the Taekwondo team. So I know. So I've had some good fights with Alfie Lewis, Megatron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I fought Megatron, won him once, he won one. Alfie, I fought him a few times. I thought I did well against him, but obviously certain things happened anyway. So my toughest fights, I think, were in Taekwondo. When we went to in Europe, the European guys were fantastic. And I can remember a good fight I had with a guy called Rex Faber. He became an ITF world champion afterwards. He was a 6'7" man. He was a tough kid.
So what weight did you fight at? Light, heavy?
I was a low. I could have been a light. If it's today, I would be a light heavyweight because I was 13.5 stone. But I fought in the heavyweight because at that time Michael Lambert was a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
So Kenny says always stay in the heavyweight because we didn't have a heavyweight at the time. Because I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever go over and fight the Dutch team? The Dutch teams?
Yeah, that's Ritz Faber was a famous Dutch fighter. Ritz Faber, fantastic guy, honestly. 6'6", fantastic legs. I won him. We had 2 fights, to be honest. I won once and he won one as well. So that was quite good.
Okay.
That's when I won Dutch Open as well. That was probably 893. I don't know, sometime then.
Yeah, good. So in terms of all the all the fighters that you've been in, so you fought with the Warriors. Did you do that prior to coming into the TGB?
Yeah. I was fighting kickboxing at the time, and then Bob Sykes used to train. I don't know if you know a gentleman called Arthur O'Loughlin. If you Google it, you'll know. If you Google him, he used to live down road from us, well, next town, which is Barnsley, and we used to go down on Saturday morning. I was only 18 at the time, and I met a gentleman called Bob Sykes there. I don't know if you know Bob Sykes.
Yeah, I know Bob.
Yeah. I was 18 and I think he was 19, 20. His brother was about 16. And we used to, and a gentleman called Phil Glover. He's a well-respected kid. So we used to fight along there. So eventually, Bob went to develop the magazine, and then we kept in touch. And then he asked me to find the Warriors team. So I fought a few times in the Warriors team, actually. I fought Kenny Walton in the Warriors team.
Oh, okay.
Brilliant. It's a good job. It's a good job when you was fighting for the TGB that they weren't short. They might have nicked you. They might have nicked you and put you back in the Warriors.
To be honest, I was still training with Kenny at the time, and I says to Kenny, they've asked me to fight, and he goes, "Who you fighting?" He says, "You lot tonight." He goes, "All right, daughter." He says, "I'll tell Dave." So we fought him against, and then I went and had a meal with the TGB at the night. Then I got back. They put me in the squad next week.
Because it's funny because the Warriors were always the baddies, weren't they? The TGB wear their nice pressed white suits or whatever suits. Then the Warriors were just in like a t-shirt and bottoms, and like there's always.
That's right. Yeah, they were. I was the quiet one. There were a few quiet ones, but they were. Yeah, it was flamboyant. It was quite good. So we had some good fights. Yeah, they were interesting.
Okay, talk to us about some of the trips that you've been on with the TGB then.
TGB, oh God, the first trip I went was Atlanta. I think your dad went to that one. I think your dad went to that one as well, if I'm right. I think he did. I'm not sure. Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He did. Yeah. Yeah, some good fights. We won. Went in Battle Atlanta. Fantastic. I think I was 13 half stone, and Kenny goes, you stay in heavyweights, and I'll stay in the light heavyweights, and Mikey can stay in middleweights. Because I was quite low. Then there was super heavyweights. So I dieted all night. Lost about 7 pounds in like 24 hours, diet going in there. So eventually I fought, did do well. I caught flu the next day. We had a good time there. Then we went to Canada, Canadian Championship. Who do I get my first round? Mikey Lambert. So I fought Mikey Lambert. So I beat him. Who will I get next round? Because we had to, it was like an open tournament. So who will I get next? Mark Weir. I beat him as well. But that was interesting. At the time, I was just then. I think Dave told Kenny goes, I think we need to put him in team.
Right. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So there was some good times that time.
Did you fight in the 91 at Granby Halls, Shab?
World champion? No, I didn't. So I didn't know not that. I joined the team in 92.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that was they had a good old team out in the 91.
That's right. No, I joined in 92.
Okay.
I think when we went to America it was in April 92. That's when I.
Have you still got your St. George's flag Dobot, the red and the white one?
You know, I moved house when I moved to Leeds. My missus put everything away. God knows where she's put it. Even my trophies, I left my mum, so I've got nothing, to be honest.
Okay then. So from the TGB, obviously you're not in the TGB now. So where did you migrate onto from there?
You know, I didn't. To be honest, what I was doing at the time, it was I was just explaining. I was doing a lot of boxing as well. I boxed all my life actually, just training wise. Never boxed in the ring, but I've trained a lot of professionals: Errol Graham, Johnny Nelson. I just trained at the Ingles gym. But I just want to move away from the traditional at the time. So I don't know. I went back into Kung Fu. Where I did a bit of Wing Chun at the time. So yeah, and I kept. Obviously, then I've got a few instructors, students, my own, who've got their own clubs. So now and then I still go and teach their clubs. Right. But I closed my club down about 7 years ago. I didn't close. I passed it to one of the students. I couldn't take it anymore. It became too commercialized for me.
Right. Okay.
Originally, when I started, it was on my hobby to become an instructor. Before I realized, back in '97, it became too commercialized for me. It became like a members thing. So I had over 250 members in the club. And it was just too commercial, and I couldn't cope with it. And I just thought, I've had enough of this. I'm moving to Leeds. I'm starting my own business somewhere else. So I left the clubs completely then.
Okay. So what do you do now then?
I run a sports business. I've got a sports shop.
Okay.
I do that, and I do a lot of day trading, stock market.
Oh, dangerous. That's dangerous.
Listen, I do okay.
It's pretty volatile at the moment out there. That's for sure.
Oh, it's very volatile. That's how you make your money.
Well, this is true. That's how you lose it. That's how you lose it just as quick.
Hey, listen, I could tell you how much I lose as long as my wife's not listening.
Well, don't tell us on air, mate. She might pick it up. But more importantly, she might find out how much you've been winning.
No, but I run a sports business, which that's my main job anyway.
Okay, so what sort of sports stuff do you do?
To be honest, when I originally started, we were selling a lot of martial arts equipment. But over the time, everything's changing. We do a lot of MMA, mainly boxing equipment.
Okay.
So that's based in Sheffield. So that's what I managed to do.
Do you have like an online store?
We do, yeah. proexports.com, yeah.
Okay, we'll have to plug it at the end, so we'll get that on there for you.
Okay, so back in those early days, what motivated you to train? I know you always seem to be in a combat arena. What was that motivation?
I don't know. I think at that time you just, I don't know. It just came. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Just we loved to compete. There was nothing else. Just we couldn't wait to compete.
Yeah.
And every time we compete, and if we had lost earlier on, and you got better and better.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. We just competed. It doesn't matter.
In those days as well, there wasn't really anything else, was there? You sort of stumbled across. I mean, like you said, I mean, we talked about this before. I mean, when back in those days, you didn't have the choice of, I'm going to do Wing Chun or I'm going to do Kung Fu. You just went to the local, what was nearest to your house, and that was what you took up, weren't you? And that's how the journey tends to start, right?
Yeah, exactly. In those days, I mean, it's quite different. That it was a cardinal sin. If you left from Taekwondo, you did karate. It's like, oh man, he's doing another style here. Do you understand? Or he's doing Wing Chun. He doesn't believe in his system. But nowadays, it doesn't matter if you're doing karate, kung fu. You blend it all in. It's become more like a mixed martial, what we call mixed martial arts nowadays. But at that time, back in the days, it was like a cardinal sin. You couldn't change from your style to another style.
So why did you put your head above the parapet and change then? What made you want to change from different ones?
When I was in Lau Gar, I think I was quite young, to be honest, and I wanted to break into a team, and the Lau Gar team was based in Birmingham. I was only 18 at the time, and I think I was struggling to get into their team at the time. And I think they had a lot of fights, and I couldn't. So for various reasons, and I just liked Taekwondo's kicking styles. And once I got in there, I just loved their system. It was so good.
We're not worried about crossing over? What people would have thought of you, said about you?
Yeah, that you got. I mean, now it doesn't matter. At that time, it did. I think that people always switched over. He doesn't believe in his system. There was a lot of that going at the time. Oh, I just forget that, man. It suits me. It suits my style. And to be honest, when I did sport, I did all right because I had a lot of Lau Gar hands, which was more faster and could compete with Taekwondo with people who used to. So obviously, I came from a different fighting mentality. Sure. Where you have a traditional Taekwondo, they all come off the leading leg. I probably used to come off the hands and then follow with the legs.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. It's just always keen to understand, what those drivers, particularly when it's like you said, it's frowned upon. But
I don't think it is nowadays. It doesn't matter about that.
No,
it was a nightmare. Honestly, it was at the time. I remember people used to, what are you doing nowadays? Are you doing Lau Gar? Are you Kung Fu? Are you doing Taekwondo? I said, I'm fighting for Taekwondo today.
So a bit of a martial arts free spirit then, really.
Yeah, I've always been a little rogue. But listen, it makes you what you're better. I mean, a lot of people, if you think about it now, if they stick to their system and then they don't go out of the system, they can't see how wide the world.
Correct. I totally agree. Yeah, they become quite limited.
Exactly, and I got better. I used to box at the Ingalls gym, and their style was total unorthodox, completely different to whatever normal boxing gym you'd go, and you make you a better fighter. The people, if you stick to one system or just one style of fighting, I think it just limits your techniques and your ability.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
Yeah, especially these days with the mixed martial arts arena as well. I mean, the most well-rounded people, are in that arena now, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. And like I said, nowadays, you've got to go out and you've got to do other styles. And I've done most of them, to be honest. I've done BJJ, I've done Thai, I've done a lot of old style over the years. But like I said, it was at that time, like Jack said, it was frowned upon. But nowadays, it's completely different.
Okay, just one quick back pedal then. Talk us through some of your kickboxing fights.
I think I had 3 kickboxing fights, and there's a no good gentleman from Birmingham. I can't remember the name. He became ABA champion. He's got long dreadlocks. You'll know him if you mention his name. A really well-known kid. We had a good fight. So we had one each. He won
not Colin, was it?
No.
No.
I can't remember his name. I met him a while back, actually, after so many years. We had a 1-2 fights between me. He won one and I won one. Then I had another fight in Brixton, which I lost. But then at that time, I think the points started taking over.
Yeah.
FSK came on board, so that suited. You didn't need to train as hard. You didn't need to go and train as hard, and you just got to put your pads on. And I think that's what I did, and I kept training in boxing, but I think it just appealed to me at that time. You didn't have to go and travel to London and then I think we used to get £25 a fight at the time.
Yeah, it was more exciting as well. The freestyle karate scene was really exciting during that day.
Fantastic.
Wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. And I think it appealed to me at that time. And I started doing well as well. And I did. And obviously, as you win, you get more into it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, then. So, right, Shab, we're going to start wrapping up now.
Brilliant.
Before we finish, though, just a question we ask everybody. What advice, you've been a journeyman amongst all the styles, which I think is fantastic because it does make you a much more rounded martial artist.
Sure.
And actually, you can have a true opinion, can't you?
Of course.
Because you've been there and you've participated and you've got a rounded opinion on different styles. But what advice would you give now to a younger you, a 16, 17, 18-year-old you, given the experiences that you've had across multiple martial arts?
I'd say stick to one traditional art, get your basics, get at least your black belt, and probably do another 2-3 years at it. So you at least understand style. And then if you want to go from another into other, whichever you want to do, if you want to do patterns or kickboxing or boxing, I think I know there's a lot of freestyle out there. I've known, and I respect them all, but I think you need a good base art. And it does, regardless which base art it is. Yeah. It could be taekwondo, karate, it doesn't matter. As long as you've got a good traditional base art, I think then you can move on forward.
Because I think getting that traditional base platform, it's not just about the style of the kicks. Dare I say, it's a bit about the philosophy, isn't it? All the other things that it teaches you, the perseverance, and all those other good things.
And I think you get that respect in a way. I think that a lot of the freestyles miss that bit. The theory behind it, the history behind it, the philosophy, like you said. So I would definitely recommend doing the traditional. It doesn't matter which style you do, as long as it's traditional, at least get minimum black belt. Probably another couple of years after, you'll understand what the black belt is. You'll probably like the system more better, and you'll stay. Yes. A lot of people tend to get their black belt and they just throw it back. That's the end goal. I think,
quit, don't they? It's like learning to drive and then never driving again.
Exactly. And my experience is, get your black belt, get another 2 years, you'll understand the system better. And I've had students who run that and they say, I'll keep it going. I've got students of 4th dance or 5th dance and they stick to it.
Yeah.
Where some of them just probably took the black belt and went to another one, and I don't think they understood it better. I think that's advice I'd give, definitely. Then
that is good advice.
If you want to move on to something else, I think that at least you've got a good base art.
It's definitely good advice, and I think one of the biggest problems is these days is the black belt is seen like the end goal, isn't it? When a lot of kids come into your martial arts studio or whatever, they see the black belt as the end goal. I'm going to get my black belt, and that's it. Where really the black belt is the start of the best stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like doing going to university, getting your becoming a solicitor. You don't become a solicitor, just you pass your exams.
You've got to start practicing.
And I think even with black belt, I think you should be, I don't know, there's ways of doing it. Probably you've got to do so many tournaments, you've got to do this, let them understand it better. But I think nowadays, certain organisation or certain style is just black belts like Smarties now.
Yeah. I think you're dead right. It's trying to find that right balance, isn't it?
That's right.
We do live in a different world, do live in a different society, but people struggle to keep that traditional side, but also a lot of people want to make a living as well. Yeah. So it's I suppose we don't sit here to judge. It's horses for courses, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
People following their beliefs.
You've got to balance it. And at that time, I think that's where I went wrong. We went too much commercializing YouTube. We were pinning out students, and then I just got fed up with it, to be honest. I thought it's not what I want. I entered martial arts for. Yeah, I want to do martial arts I love, and I think you just became a number in my classes, and I hated it. And then now when I go and do to classes for other clubs, I enjoy it. I do a few classes here and there. I enjoy it. It's a lot better.
Yeah, it's good passing on that those years of multiple art wisdom.
Oh, definitely.
Really
I think it's easy to fall out of love of a martial arts system as well when you've been doing it so much and then you start teaching it. I think when you're teaching it every day, not because you want to, but because you have to. If you're not careful, it's easy to fall out of love with
easy. I mean, I was doing 6-7 classes a night.
Wow.
It was 6-7, and you do that 5 days a week, and you probably do about five classes in one night. And then you do private lessons. I think just your body takes it, and you just think, I actually enjoy this.
And that time, a lot of the time, you don't get to train yourself.
Exactly.
But the thing that you love doing, because you're teaching it, you're not actually doing it. Yeah. So,
but now, it's a lot better. I can go do a class. Any of my instructors, I can go turn up or phone them, or I'll do a class with so I can do that. Get a kick out of it. It just keeps your foot in as well.
Definitely. Shab, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this evening.
Listen, anytime, the old stories. Nice talking to you, Gavin, as well. And you,
yeah. Thanks, Shab. Thanks for coming on. Like I say, mate, you're quite local to me, so who knows? I might bump.
Come and take one of Gavin's classes. Give him a night off.
Come and do one of my classes in York.
Anytime, mate. You take care, all right, guys.
All right, Shab.
Okay.
Really
Thank you, Shab.
Give my regards to your dad, all right?
Will do.
All right, God bless. See you later. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode of the Motivated Martial Artist podcast. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page and our Facebook group, the Motivated Martial Artist podcast.
And don't forget also the Motivated Martial Artist Instagram page.
So head along for some extra content, interviews and much more.
So until next week, it's bye from Jackson
and Gavin,
the Motivated Martial Artists.